today I'm going to show you how you can make every single one of these Valentine's Day garden build hacks. Behind me, I have a bunch of Valentine's Day garden build hacks, most of which are copy and pastable. So I am going to be going through each one, and there will be timestamps in the description if you want to go ahead and skip ahead to the build hack that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and start with these garden sculptures here. So this first one here is actually the garden sculpture that already comes in the game. So if you go ahead and head to garden, either in build or decorate, and go ahead and search up Noobish head sculpture, you will find this one right here. So as you can see, this is what I used, but I changed the colors to be more Valentine's. I also changed the texture, so I used the small leaves texture because I think it looks a little bit nicer, and that's what Bloxburg has been using for the trees. And then for the square in the middle, I just changed the red a little bit. It looks like I used crimson. And then for the green, I used a shade of pink. I'm guessing it's this one. This one looks about the same, the light reddish violet. And then to add the heart in the middle, I went to decorations, went to the all category, and just searched up heart pillow. And for this one, I colored it salmon, and in materials, I used the large leaves texture right here. And then this part will require the transform tool. You may be able to use the old basic shape floating hack, which I'll go ahead and just do this once real quick to show you guys in case you didn't know, and that way you can use them for all of these build hacks, since I will be using the transform tool a lot. As you can see, I just take a cube, and then I'm also going to grab a carpet. Doesn't matter which kind, we'll just use this simple round carpet. And then you go ahead and place whatever object you want, in this case the heart, on top of it, and then just go ahead and remove the carpet in the basic shape, and now we have the heart in the middle of the square. Obviously, if you have transform tool, what I would do is I would mess with it a little bit, kind of change the rotation, just like that, so it just looks a little bit better. But obviously, if you don't have the transform tool, that float hack will work just fine. So unfortunately, this build hack is not copy and pastable, but to make it copy and pastable, I went ahead and built my own head sculpture. So to do that, go ahead and just grab a beveled cube. I would put one of the Noobish head sculptures up next to it to kind of get the size about right. And then once you have a size for the legs that you like, go ahead and copy another one and make sure to place it on top. This is what makes it copy and pastable. So you're then going to grab the transform tool, and you're going to go ahead and bring it down. And then I like to rotate it just a little bit. Obviously, if you don't have the transform tool, you can just simply put another leg right next to it. It just won't be copy and pastable. If I put it on top of the basic shape, as you can see, this whole piece is copy and pastable now. And then we're going to do the same thing for the body. Go and drag that out a little bit. I will be using the transform tool for these build hacks because it is easier, but you can use the, again, basic shape floating hack to do most of it. Some of the things won't work, unfortunately, but a good amount of these should work with just the basic shape floating hack. It just, again, it may not be copy and pastable. Then once you have that, you're going to go ahead and put your arms on top of the torso, and then just go ahead and drag it out and rotate it into position. If you want to make it look kind of like this, go ahead and just rotate the arm a little bit, so that's kind of reaching out like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side, just like that. And I'm not going to go ahead and try to make these perfect since I've already made them, but obviously you can play around with it to your liking. And then once again, you're going to want to grab a heart pillow. I'm just going to use the one I already have, and then just scale it up and out as much as you can, and then go ahead and move it up, or use the basic shape hack to put it up in its hands. And then for the head, go ahead and grab a beveled vertical cylinder and just place that on top like that. And then if you want it to have a big head, you're certainly welcome to keep it like that, but I went ahead and scaled it down a little bit. Something like that should be good, and then color it that pink color, or of course green color, whatever you want. You can change the material too. And now we have about the same thing. It's just holding a heart, and obviously you can take a cube and replicate this right here if you want it to look exactly the same but be copy and pastable. You can make this build hack here if you go and just grab a cube and then put the heart inside of that, and the whole thing, as you can see, ooh, I totally forgot about this. Make sure when you're placing all of the items for all of these build hacks, if you want it to be copy and pastable, make sure you place it on another piece of the item. So because I went back and put the heart on the head and then transformed it out here, as you can see, the whole sculpture is now copy and pastable. And then you can leave it like this, or for fun, you can grab the Huggo Heart plush toy and put it on the shoulders like a little shoulder buddy. And then this next build hack is the exact same steps. You can either leave the heart plush on it or take it off. And then I just went ahead and grabbed 2 heart pillows, scaled them all the way down, and then of course I transformed them into place. Once again, make sure you're placing the heart pillows on top of the sculpture, not on the ground, otherwise it will not be copy and pastable. And there you go, you now have a little sculpture with heart eyes. And of course, once again, you're totally welcome to customize it however you want. You can take another heart pillow and you can drag it into this heart, just bring it forward a little bit and maybe scale it down, and you can have like 2 sizes of a heart. Let me just show you because I have no idea if that made any sense. Kind of like that, and then you can change the color and you can have like an outline for the heart. So there's lots of fun things you can do with this. And then if you want like a stone sculpture, it's literally the same thing. I just changed all of the colors to stone, and then I added a little like pink purple hue for Valentine's Day onto this stone. So that is how you make these sculptures. Next, we're going to move on to some bushes. Now you can't copy and paste plants. So in order to make these bushes copy and pastable, I grabbed a sphere, and I'll go ahead and just start with this bush right here. Grabbed a sphere, and then of course scaled it out to however big you want your bush. It does not really matter. Let's say this is about the size I want for my bush, and then I went ahead and colored it, again, that small leaves texture and a shade of green. And then once again, we're going to be using a lot of these. Grab the basic heart pillow, and then make sure to place it on top of the bush, and then go ahead and just place a bunch and put them into place. Go ahead and rotate them and then like onto the bush like that, so it looks like they're little flowers, little heart flowers. And then to make it look more natural and give it a little bit more variety, I would recommend rotating them all at different angles, kind of like that, so they're all different angles. And as you can see, just keep doing that and you will end up with a bush like this. And then for this bush, once again, I grabbed the sphere, I just made it a little bit longer. See, something like that. That looks about right. And then for the next step, I actually grabbed a cube and I rescaled it all the way down. And you can use two options. You can use the broken heart or the broken heart with a band-aid. In case you want like a broken heart Valentine's Day bush, then go ahead and put the broken heart on top of a basic shape. And then of course, go ahead and transform it into place and move it down just enough so that you don't see that basic shape anymore. Oh, and make sure to put it on the bush. I keep forgetting, but if you put it on the ground, as you can see, it will not copy and paste. But if you put it on the bush, the whole bush will be copy and pastable. And then of course, just color it whatever material you want. I color it like this to kind of look like flowers. And then here's just another example. You can use different materials for your flowers. You could add the little Huggo Heart plush on top of your bush. And this can actually be moved with the transform tool, which is pretty amazing. So you can have the little heart plushies sitting on your bushes. And then this is another option if you do not have the transform tool, is you can take the wooden heart sculpture, which is in decorations, this one right here, and then you can go ahead and place it on top of your bush. Go ahead and scale it all the way down, and then go ahead and color it whatever you want. And as you can see, you can still have a bush with heart flowers, even if you can't transform the flowers in place. But it definitely does look nicer if you have the transform tool to do it this way. And then another thing that's going to work for every single one of these build hacks is if you go ahead and grab the insect farm. So once again, go to garden, search up insect. It's the insect hotel actually. And then once again, you want to go ahead and put it on a small cube scaled all the way down. And you can now transform this. And the reason why you want to do this is you can now move it into your bushes. Except remember to put it on top of your bush and then move it inside so it's copy and pastable. And if you do that, butterflies will now be able to fly down and land on your bush, which is pretty awesome. So you can use that for any of these build hacks. You could put it inside the noob sculptures. You could put it in any of the trees we're going to make. And that way you can have butterflies all over your plot landing on all of your plants. The next copy and pastable build hack are these fences here. So as you can see, this is an in-game fence and I went ahead and made a replica that is completely copy and pastable in the pieces. So we have this end piece right here and then we have this whole piece right here, or just this middle piece, which I accidentally did backwards. So when you click it, it's wanting to place the top, not the bottom. And then you can color it different varieties. Here are a bunch of different fences you can use, different colors. And you can even put the Huggo Heart plush on top instead of what we're going to do. But anyways, let's get into making this. First thing you're going to want to do is grab a cube. And then I personally scaled it to 1.25. It's nice and easy on the medium grid. And then I went ahead and scaled it up to 2.75. Then copy and paste another piece on top, scaled it all the way down. And then I moved it out just a little bit on the edges. Something like 1.45 would be good. And then if you kind of followed me and accidentally did it backwards like I did, you can either move it down with the transform tool, or you can put this base down and then put this pillar on top of it. But before you do that, go ahead and copy this top piece here, or bottom piece I mean, but we're going to use it as the top. And as you can see, now we have the base of the pillar. And then we're going to use two types of hearts for this. We're going to use the basic heart pillow, and we're also going to use the wooden heart sculpture. The wooden heart sculpture is going to go on the top. You can scale it up a little bit if you want. And then we're going to scale the heart pillar down all the way and then just go ahead and move it into the center here. If you want it to be exact on all of the pillars, I would go ahead and put it on medium grid placement and then drag it down to the middle here. And there we go. I went ahead and colored it a shade of gray with concrete just to kind of match this fence that already exists. But of course, you're welcome to color it whatever you want. So now we have a copy and pastable pillar, but now we want to make this centerpiece here. So once again, go ahead and grab a cube, go to medium grid placement, and then go ahead and scale it out just to connect it like this. And then to make it copy and pastable, we're going to want to put it on top of one of these pillars and then move it into the center and then all the way down to the floor. And then we're going to want to do the same thing again for the top piece. Once again on medium grid placement, put it about here. And actually, I made the mistake. I would go ahead and rescale it in just a little bit for the extra detail. Then to make this little detailing in the center here, we're going to go ahead and grab a beveled cube. And on the small grid placement, go ahead and just scale it down into a square. So you can do whatever you want. I'm going to use about 1 on both sides. And then of course on the top, don't do a full 1. Maybe something like 0.5 would be good. And then copy and paste that into the 3 spots. And don't forget to color it first to save money. Then decorations, go ahead and search vase and grab the tall decorative vase. And then we're actually going to make it a little bit wider, about 0.8 there and just a tiny bit taller. And then for the top piece, we're going to go ahead and grab a sphere. And again, the exact dimensions that you actually rescale it don't really matter. You can do whatever you want, whatever looks best to you. And there we go. Obviously, you can see that doing it the second time around, I've actually made it a little bit different just by the sizing. Like it looks like I made these a tiny bit taller and this a little bit bigger maybe. But that's kind of the beauty of it, is it's completely customizable, so you can make it exactly how you want. And then of course, go ahead and copy the same thing over to the rest of them. And there we go. We have a completely copy and pastable fence, so you can continue it along if I had room. And then these are the exact same pillars, just colored differently. And then I went ahead and used some of the in-game fences just to show you if you didn't want to have to go through the trouble of custom making this, which you could have totally just dragged this like that, and that would have worked just fine. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know why I made that, because you do just have this fence that you can just drag across. But if you're not on like the edge of a square and you hadn't like the middle like this, I suppose this custom fence is pretty nice. You can do the same thing with either of these. You can just take a big basic shape or a bunch of skinny basic shapes, and you can remake all of these fences if you want it not to go along the edge of the squares. But anyways, that's it for the fences. And then we're gonna move on to these little lawn noobs here. So if you head into decorations and search up lawn noob, you'll find this one. Go ahead and grab it. I just colored it 2 different shades of pink, and then you can totally have them hold hands if you want in your garden, or you can make one hold a Valentine's Day balloon. For this top part, once again, I just use a basic heart pillow, and then I think I colored it the foil texture to give it that kind of shiny balloon, and then of course red for the heart, but you could do pink or whatever other color you want. And unfortunately, this build hack is not copy and pastable. There was no way to do that since you cannot place anything on the lawn noob itself. But if you go and just transform it up like that, then you can go ahead and grab a basic shape. Now there's 2 ways to do this. The first way is grabbing a basic shape and then going to structurals and grabbing the small round rod and placing it on top like this. And you can go and take the transform tool, move it into the ground, and move it into place to be the string of the balloon. Just like that, and then you can move your little lawn noob into place and color this white for the string. But obviously, that's gonna leave this sticking through the ground. So if you had like a basement or something underneath, that wouldn't really work. So the other way to do it is if you grab that basic shape, go ahead and scale it up to the height you need your string to be. Then once again, grab a small round rod and go ahead and drag it along the basic shape. And then you want to move the basic shape into the ground to cover it up. And that way, barely anything, if anything, is sticking through the ground. As you can see, it's just a tiny bit. And if you don't want that, you can of course have it be up on the ground a little bit and then just color the grass, maybe put a pile of dirt or something to kind of blend it in. So for example, I'll just go ahead and color this the grass color and material. And as you can see, it totally blends in now. And then you can transform the structural into the heart balloon. And there you go, you now have a little lawn noob holding a heart balloon. And then the next build hack is a bunch of these custom flowers, and I made a bunch of these to show a bunch of varieties you can do. You can create your own, but I'm going to show you the basic step on how to make all of these. So we'll just start with this basic one right here. Go ahead and grab a cube and scale it all the way down. Then color it the same color as the grass, which is camo, and the same material, which is the lush grass. And we're going to do the exact same things we did for the balloon. So you can once again make a long basic shape and drag it across, or if you have nothing in the basement, you can just do what I'm going to do and place the entire small round rod on your basic shape. And you can color that whatever you want. It's going to be the stem of the flower, so maybe just a little bit of a darker green. And then just go ahead and rotate this up, and of course move it down because we don't want that tall of a stem. And then once again, grab a basic heart pillow, scale it all the way down, and you can choose how thick you want it to be. I'll do something maybe like that. And then of course apply whatever color you want to it, so we'll just use this red here. And then place the heart on your little basic shape there and transform it into place. And now we have a little copy and pastable heart flower, and of course you can see the basic shape. So you have a few options. You can cover it up with a pile of dirt, you can put a plant around it like that, or like the new snake plant, or maybe this grass here, or even a pot. If you make the stem longer, you can totally put it in a pot, or you can just simply take the transform tool and push it under the ground so you can no longer see the basic shape. And then this same design was used to make these 2 right here. So obviously this pink one right here was just scaled a little bit wider on this bottom one, and then I just took another heart pillow and put it on top like that. And then for these 2, I just took another pillow and then I just changed the size. So we'll make this one just a little bit bigger, and then go ahead and transform that into the center, and then change the color, and there you go. So obviously there's a lot of customizing you can do here, and a lot of different textures you can use as well. But then as you can see, there are these patterns here too. So it's the same steps to make the top part of the flower. But then for these 2 parts here, I just took another basic shape, color as the grass, and then I took a wooden heart sculpture, placed it on top, and then scaled it all the way down, because this you cannot just transform, but it can go smaller than the pillows, which is nice. So then of course, to make it copy and pastable, place it on the basic shape and then transform it up. And I did 2 different things. For one of them, I left the basic shape exposed, as you can see right here, to kind of give it like the bottom of the flower. And then for this one, I rotated it more and moved it up into the flower so you could not see the basic shape. So either design will work. And then for these 2 flowers over here, are going to follow the same steps except for the top part of the flower. So if you don't want this like rounded shape and you want more of a flat flower style, go ahead and just grab a cube, scale it all the way down, and then also grab a cylinder that's scaled all the way down, and then copy and paste this cylinder because we'll need 2 of them, and then rotate the square, and you're going to want to scale it a little bit bigger. For example, I think 0.5 would be good. And then of course, to make it copy and pastable, you're going to want to put both of these cylinders on top of the cube, and then use the transform tool to move them down to be flush with the cube. And then we take that, we of course color it. I'm going to color it the same color I've been coloring it, the red with the small leaves texture, and then just transform it up. By the way, if you want to change the arrows like I'm doing, just press R on the keyboard. I'm not sure what it is on mobile. I don't even know if you can even do that on mobile, unfortunately. But then I just went ahead and moved it up into place. And what R does, by the way, is this is its default position, but if you want it to be like easy to see, like up and down like this, like on an axis, and not kind of in crazy directions, then go ahead and just press R, and every time you move it, even if you move it like this, as you can see, it's going to reset to that standard position. So it just makes it easier sometimes when you're moving around with the transform tool. So now we have that one, and then to make this one, you're gonna do the literally exact same steps, except you're gonna make it slightly bigger. So for example, we'll go like 0.8, and actually that's a little big, so let me scale it back down, maybe 0.6, that'll probably be good. And then I just took one of these cylinders that we already used, and then I just scaled it up a little bit to 0.6 as well, actually. And then follow the exact same steps. Place it on top and move it down to be copy and pastable. And then once you've done that, you can take your smaller heart, put it in the center like that, and then of course use the transform tool to move it down, give it a different color, and then just like everything else, move it into place. So that is how you make the copy and pastable heart flowers, which I think are pretty fun. The next thing is a heart fountain, and unfortunately this is not copy and pastable either, but it is super easy to replicate. So go to garden, go ahead and just search up fountain. We're gonna use the octagonal or octagonal, however you say it, fountain right here. I just colored it some different colors for Valentine's Day. And then once again, we're gonna grab our favorite item, the cube, scale it all the way down, and then we're gonna grab another wooden heart, place it on top, size it up just a little bit, and then use the transform tool to go ahead and move this on top of the little orb on top here, and then color it the same color as the fountain. As you can see, I made it a little off center, that was my bad, but there you go, you get the idea. So you have a little heart fountain. Next thing are these rocks, which are like probably the easiest build hack out of all of these. This one right here is actually literally just the large stone. If you go to garden, just take this large stone here, and there you go. If you just turn it, it looks like a heart. And I just colored it this kind of pinkish gray. And then for the next one, you're gonna go ahead and take a boulder once again in garden, and then you're gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna kind of turn it around to make the shape of a heart, and then put them together. It's very, very easy. Same with the next one, you're just gonna use the smaller rock, the large rock right here, turn it around to make the shape of a heart, and then you can even do the same thing to make heart stepping stones. If you just take the large stepping stone and just turn it and put them together to make it look like a heart. Color it whatever color you want, and there you go, you have a bunch of heart rocks and heart stepping stones. And then this heart is actually the exact same steps we used for the flower over here, this flat flower. So if you skipped ahead, go ahead and go back to this flat flower design here to remake this heart, and then just make it much bigger, however big you want. And then you can actually use this to make stepping stones. So like if I were to put a path here, and maybe we want to use that trick to section it off and make little stepping stones with the fences. Should have probably colored that first. Then just color it stone, and then you can go and take these hearts here. You can color them a shade of gray as well. I'll just make this a little bit darker. And then with the basic shape floating hack or the transform tool, just go ahead and lower it into the ground, and then just keep repeating the process, and you can have heart stepping stones, which is pretty cool, like a little heart pathway. And then this next one, we have two different vine build hacks. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take a wall, and then you're gonna want to go to decorations and search up garland, and you're gonna want to take this heart garland, and you're just gonna drag it along. And then I used the large leaves and small leaves texture again with a shade of pink, and then you're literally just gonna repeat dragging it down and across like this. There's no exact way to follow this because it's kind of up to you and how you want it to look. And it's also kind of all about being random. You can also do some smaller little strokes instead of the really long ones. And then as you can see, this one doesn't look quite as good, but you can go ahead and just make a little design like that. That's great for going on corners, and you can even drag it across walls and make like heart vines or something. So hopefully that's pretty easy to follow. It's a pretty easy build hack. And then for this next one, I made vines with little like hearts on them. So go ahead and go to garden and just search up vine, take the overgrown wall vine, and then I just placed two of them on a wall like this. And then once again, went ahead and colored it to my liking. And then as you can see, the vines aren't copy and pastable, but all the hearts that go on them are. So that way, if I make new vines like I just did, I can just copy and paste this basic shape here, and then I can just go ahead and place it right back there. And as you can see, it's a little off to the side. I need to move a little bit, but the hearts are back in place. So to do that, go ahead and grab a cube, once again scaled all the way down. And it doesn't matter where you place this cube. I placed it on the other side of the wall, but maybe you have something on the other side of the wall, you can just kind of hide it against the wall, or maybe in the corner, wherever you want to put it. But for this, I'm just going to go ahead and put it right there. And then once again, I probably said once again a gazillion times by now, we're gonna take the heart pillow, scale it all the way down, not necessarily all the way down in width, that's up to you. I'm gonna leave it a little bit wider than all the way. And then of course, color it whatever you want. I used the salmon and the large leaves texture. And then to make it copy and pastable, make sure when you place the heart pillows, you are placing them on this basic shape, and then transforming them to the other side of the wall, moving them around and rotating into place. Again, I recommend each time you place one, you rotate a little bit differently. And as you can see, the reason why I have two basic shapes here is because if I were to take this and I were to try to move it all the way to the top, as you can see, it's an error. It's too far away from the original basic shape. So as you can see, I just took another basic shape and then went ahead and just moved that up the wall. And as you continue to place hearts, once you get above this level where it caps off, then just start placing hearts on the second one up, and you'll be able to get all the way to the top of the wall. And as you can see, now when I copy and paste the bottom one, both basic shapes and all of the hearts copy and paste. So I could totally put this on the other side of the wall, and all the hearts would be in place on the vines. So you can easily copy and paste it for a bunch of walls. So the next hack is this little heart planner, and then I even put some heart melons in it. So I'm going to start with how to make this heart planner itself. We're going to actually follow the exact same thing that we did to make those little hearts for the flower or this stepping stones right here. You're going to take a basic shape that's turned sideways like this. You can scale it however big you want. I think I'm gonna go 7.5 like that. And you're also gonna wanna grab a cylinder, do the same thing all the way down and all the way out until it comes about to the edge here. So just gonna move it until it's flush right there, pretty much. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then of course I'm going to put it on this basic shape so that the whole thing is copy and pastable. There you go, and I just went ahead and colored it white and the wood planks texture. And then you're going to want to do the exact same thing as well. Just copy this and put it on top. Go ahead and delete the cylinders. We're going to have to scale this down a little bit, so maybe like 7.15 instead. And then you're going to grab another one of these cylinders and do the same thing, just scale it down a little bit. Once again, until it's about flush right here. Place it on top, move it down. It's the exact same steps, just a little bit smaller. And then of course when you're done, go ahead and just color it brown. And I use concrete, but whatever dirt texture you like to use. And then just move it on into the planer. Now obviously you can see I didn't really do it perfectly, so you can play with it a little bit so it's flatter like that. As you can also see, I kind of messed up a little bit on this one. So you can play with it however you want, but that is the heart planer. And then for the heart melons, once again, I took one of those heart pillows and then I just moved it down a little bit. So that's kind of wide like a melon, and then I put this stripe texture on it. And then of course put it on the dirt and transform it down. Then I just made different sizes of it, colored it different shades of colors. And then I took some of these natural plants, which this is the part that unfortunately does not copy and paste. So as you can see, I can take everything but the plants. But I think the plants look really nice, so I would still add it. It's just unfortunately you can't copy and paste plants, but the rest of it is copy and pasteable. And you can even take a small round rod that's colored green and just go ahead and drag it across if you want to kind of be like vines. But that is how you make the heart planner. And then just be careful as you're placing the vines, because as you can see, the ones that went directly on the melon got copy and pasted, but the ones that touched the plants did not. And then the next basic shape I accidentally forgot to make decals for, so I'll make it after and I'll go ahead and throw some screenshots up on screen. But they're supposed to be those little candy hearts that you get in a box, but like lawn decor. So I'll show you how to make it, and then I'll leave the decal codes in the description below so that you can use the decals and make these yourself. But I literally just used the heart. This is the good part, is now that we're kind of into this, you can literally just take the heart that you used for the flowers or the stepping stones. The stepping stones is the actual size I used, but you can make them whatever size you want. And then I just copy and pasted it and put it on top to make it a little bit thicker. And then of course transform tool, just moved it up, rotate it a little bit, just like that into position. And the next part, super easy. I just grabbed a cube and then just scaled it all the way down, but not all the way down in height. And then you can color whatever color you want, and then go ahead and take another one and copy and paste it. That way it's all copy and pastable. And then go ahead and take the heart and put it on top of one of those legs, and then move it back into place. And of course you can color this whatever you want. And then for the decal part, you unfortunately can't place a decal on this, so really simple. Grab a cube, scale it all the way down, same steps as usual, and then go ahead and grab, I took a square decal. If you just head to decorations, go to all, and then just search up decal. I just took the square decal and then put it on top, scaled it all the way down. But yeah, then I just move it into place. And then they'll have little messages on there, you know, like XOXO or whatever the candy hearts say. So those are really fun. You can have them like lined up along the pathway, copy and pastable. Well, it's not copy and pastable because I totally forgot to put the decal on the heart. I should have done it backwards, I apologize. So go ahead and take the cube, place it on one of those legs, and then go ahead and transform it into place. Then take the heart, and then do the exact same thing we did, move it into place. And then this hack right here is exactly the same as these. I just took some of those LED lights and put it around. So as you can see, if you have a little pathway of these at night, it can look pretty cool when they're all lit up. So I thought that was pretty fun. But just in case, I'll go over how to make it really quickly. You can go ahead and take one of the ones you made and just delete the decal on the front. Then head to lighting, grab the horizontal neon light and make sure you're in custom placement. And then go to the bottom of the heart and drag it up just like that. And then up it around the heart. And then I'm not doing this perfectly here, but as you can see, just kind of drag it around and you'll end up with this heart right here. And then this isn't really anything special unless you just wanted a giant heart on your lawn. I was just playing around with how to make a heart for like other things, but in case you want it, I'll just go over it really quick because it's super easy. You just take a sphere, scale it up like that, then you copy and paste that sphere, put it on top, and then use the transform tool to move it around, rotate it, put them together, and there you go, you have a heart. As you can see, you can make it as tall and skinny or as small as you want, whatever. Totally customizable. And then for bushes, you can have heart-shaped bushes, exact same things that we did for the stones. You just take two bushes and put them together. And then we have a mailbox with hearts on it. So what I did for this is I went ahead into mailboxes and grabbed the traditional mailbox because I think that looks the best for this design. Definitely more Valentine style. Went ahead and grabbed a basic heart pillow and I just put it on the back here, scaled it all the way down, and then I gave it a red metal color, and then of course transform it, move it into place. And there you go, it's totally copy and pastable, and you can do the exact same thing on the other side if you want. Then onto this next one. This one unfortunately is not copy and pastable, but it still looks kind of cool. I went ahead and took a old watering can, and then I went ahead and colored it a gray metal to look brand new. Took a cube, scaled it all the way down, color it the same color as your watering can, and you can use whatever bouquet of flowers you want. I personally use the Lovely Bouquet since that is the limited Valentine's Day bouquet. And then you're just going to take the transform tool, pick up the cube, and move the flower bouquet into the watering can. Again, no perfect way to do this, just however you want. And there you go, you have flowers in a watering can. Okay, this next one is a mess and insanely expensive, $43,000. I do not recommend it. It doesn't even look that good, but if you want a little bit slightly on the more realistic side, you could use this tree if you want. It was super simple though. It was very easy. I took a bear tree and then I took the heart garland, same heart garland we used for these vines over here, colored it what I wanted, and then literally just dragged across this whole tree randomly. I did it over and over and over and over and over and over again until I got this mess here, but it does look a little bit more realistic than like Bloxburg trees, so that's up to you. If you want to go spend $43,000 on a tree, you're totally welcome to. And then we have these trees, which these trees, I was pretty impressed with how they turned out. They're not the best trees ever. They're also unfortunately not copy and pastable. Again, anything that uses plants are. So like this is fine because it uses the garland, and since the garland's attached to the tree. But like for this, for example, I can move the garland and the whole base of the tree that I custom made, but I can't move any of the plants on top. But I'll still show you how to make it in case you want to. And again, you can totally make it however you want. Don't have to make exactly how I make it, but there's a version with vines and a version without vines. So this is the base of the tree, and I'm not going to recreate the entire base of the tree, but if you go ahead and just take a cylinder colored wood, you're just going to keep copy and pasting it on top of itself, and you're just going to bring it in a little bit. You're welcome to make it a little bit shorter if you want to. I didn't really do that until I got further up in the tree. You're just going to, each time you're going to go a little bit further in, and also I rotated it a little bit each time to give it kind of that curve, and then you're just going to keep doing that until you got it to the height you want, right? Like that's exactly that base. And then I did the exact same thing for these pieces. As you can see, each time it goes in a little bit and it rotates a little bit in a different direction, and so that way I have these branches that I can just rotate and then make whatever design I want out of. So hopefully not too complicated. It was actually really simple to make. And then this vines part, this was the most tedious part of this tree, but it was definitely worth it because I think it looks pretty amazing. So what I did is I dragged the heart garland onto the trunk of the tree. Again, make sure not to do it on the floor. First of all, it goes through the floor, but if you do it on the tree, it'll be copy and pastable, just like this whole thing is copy and pastable. But I just did that, and then I just went ahead and used the transform tool to move it up and make little vines like this. And then I did that for a bunch of them. You can also, once you have a couple, drag it up like this, and it still looks pretty good. And then I also went around the tree like this. As you can see, I kind of went back and forth at the top just to kind of fill this in so it's not so bare. But then yeah, just keep making them. You can make them all sorts of different lengths, and then you just transform them up into the branches of the tree. And there you go, you have like heart vines. I'm not going to go through the whole recreation of that because that took quite a bit of time. But hopefully that explains enough. I mean, it's literally the same steps. There's nothing really to explain except keep doing the steps over and over again. But now for the very top of the tree, as you can see, I just took a compact bush and colored it whatever I wanted. But in order to get it on the tree, because as you can see, I can't place it here, I took a large flat cube and then just brought it up, and I started at different levels. So like you can just place a couple here, a bunch of different sized bushes. I picked 2 different colors, you know, and then just fill it all around the tree just like this. And then I just kept doing that and raising it up a little bit more, and then adding more bushes and then raising it. So as you can see, that's how you get all of these different layers, and that's how you get a little bit of height. It's still kind of a flat tree, but this is actually the fun part. I did not like doing the vines of the tree. That was the tedious and boring part. This part I actually enjoyed, just kind of placing all the bushes. And then obviously you just keep going up and you keep going out as well as the branches go out. So as you can see, I need to go back over here, and I need to do a little bit more with this branch. So I'll just move it like that and then put some more around the branch. And then as you can see, you keep doing that and eventually you'll get your trees. And then onto the next trees. These are just the basic Bloxburg trees. So what you can do, and I'll show you a better way to do it because this is not copy and pastable. As you can see, the tree moves separately and then this basic sheep moves separately. But what you can do is take that basic shape and then take a bunch of these heart pillows and then move it just like we did for the garland. If you move it into place, you can also copy and paste the basic shape and all of the hearts will move with it. So if I copy and pasted the tree and I wanted to copy and paste the hearts as well, I could take the basic shape and then go ahead and just transform it up, and the hearts would transform as well, just like that. So that's not too bad, right? That's only 2 steps, and that's how you get the Bloxburg trees. Now obviously you could take a bunch of cubes and you could take a sphere and you could try to recreate these trees, right? You totally can if you want. I didn't do that because as you can see over here, I actually made heart-shaped trees, so I didn't want to go through making these trees. If you want to, you totally can. It looks like it's just some cubes that are rotated in different directions, and it looks like it's just a sphere. So you can totally recreate these trees, but I'm going to focus over here on these heart trees. As you can see, this is 2 different pieces. This is a bear tree, and these are 2 spheres. So as you can see, I just took a sphere and I scaled it up, and then of course, put another one on top, just like I did over here for this red heart. And then you just bring it down into itself and rotate it to kind of give you that heart shape, right? Yeah, we've done that before. But I went 1 step further because this is 2 steps. We don't want 2 steps. We want it to all be, if possible, all be copy and pastable in just one step, right? So this tree looks pretty similar, right? As you can see, a little bit less detail, especially if you look at the base, it's a little bit smoother. But I went ahead and made this completely copy and pasteable. If I go and take this apart, I'll go ahead and show you how to recreate it. I just took a basic shape, and I think I used probably medium grid placement. Yep, just like that, and then dragged it up. And then for the base, as you can see, they're just a bunch of corner wedges. So I just used a bunch of these in each of the corners. Of course, not this big. Scale it down a little bit. And you can make it as steep as you want. So we'll just leave it its default steepness, or default height, I should say, is probably better. And as you can see, there will be a little gap, so you can fill it up with a wedge, or you can just move it and transform it like that. And you just do this on all sides, and you'll come up with this base here. And then, of course, you just place the heart on top, and then you move it into place. And you're gonna need to rotate it a little bit to get the heart in the right position. And then you have a completely copy and pastable heart-shaped tree, which I think it looks so cool. I love how this tree looks. But then I went one more step, because we have this base, this kind of basic, boring base, right? But then we have this tree, right? We have this tree that Bloxburg has, the rough tree, and it has a little bit of a cooler base, right? So I did just that. If I take this apart, as you can see, I made a base that's pretty similar to that, obviously a little bit different. This one, again, is very easy. You just take a basic shape using the medium grid placement, scale it down to 1.25 and up as high as you want. I used 11.25, and then you're gonna take another basic shape, of course not as tall, and you're literally just gonna do this. You're gonna rotate it, and you're gonna move it down. Just move it down, rotate it into place like that. You can, of course, scale a little bit if you don't want it that wide. You can rotate it, and honestly, just play around with it, and just like that, that's how I created this base. So actually pretty simple, not too complicated. And then again, once you're done with the base, go ahead and just move the heart tree on top of it. So hopefully that's not too complicated. Hopefully it's pretty simple. And then you have a copy and pastable heart tree, which I just think looks so cool. It's a little expensive, definitely on the more expensive side, but I think it's totally worth it. And of course, you can do this in whatever size you want. You can make the base smaller, you can make this bigger by, of course, scaling the spheres. So definitely customizable to whatever you want. And then we have this tree, which I think is kind of cool. It's kind of like an apple tree. It's the same heart tree that we have, and then with just a bunch of heart pillows that kind of look like heart apples or like heart fruits. So literally what I did for this is I just took heart pillows, scaled all the way down, but I left them pretty wide so they have dimension, kind of like a fruit. And then, of course, just rotate it and move it around in the tree, and it's an entire copy and pastable tree. So you can totally have like an apple tree, or like a whatever heart fruit tree you want to call it. And then, of course, for fun, I just threw on Huggo the heart plush toy on top. You can totally just sit down on your tree, which is cool, or you can have the tree without him. And then we have this tree, which is very simple. It's basically the same things we've been doing, except the base is actually really simple. It's literally just a vertical cylinder that's probably scaled down with the medium grid. Yeah, so scale down to medium grid, 1.25 again, scale it up. Once again, grab a sphere, and then however big you want to make your heart, you can go ahead and scale it to that, and then copy that and place another one on top, rotate it into position to make it look like a heart. Of course, play around with it until you like it, and this is obviously smaller, so this would probably be the top piece of it, not the bottom piece. But then just give it the colors you want, and then go ahead and just move it into place. And of course, I only did the top piece, but you can totally have this like heart design here, which I think is pretty cool. Lots and lots of trees, but definitely the most important part for a garden or the exterior of your house. It would be pretty cool to have these heart trees around your Valentine's house or cafe or bakery or whatever. And then we have this tree, which is maybe not something you're going to use, but I thought of the idea and I thought it was pretty cool, so I wanted to try and make it anyways. Completely copy and pastable. I just took one of these heart trees and then made a bow and arrow. So let me go ahead and recreate that for you. You obviously have the long cylinder, which I actually used 2 cylinders for, except I didn't leave the second one the full height. Again, something you want to play around with until you get the right height and the right length for your tree, especially if you make it a different size than mine, but that's about the size I have it. And then we have this spear point here. So how I made this was I took a cube, I scaled it all the way down, and then I took a bunch of corner wedges. I probably scaled it up to give it a little bit more of a point like that, and then I just moved it so that the corner was in the corner of the tiny cube here, as you can see. And then when I did that for all 4 corners, that way this thing is completely copy and pastable. The other thing I think I did, because I don't think I had it like a pyramid shape like this, I think I had it a little bit skinnier. So I think I brought these in like that, probably, I think is what I did. I made this a little while ago, so I'm not completely sure. So you can go ahead and make it whatever size you want, move it into place, but basically that's how you do that part. Then you want to go and grab the cube and transform it up, and you're going to want to rotate all of these around. You're going to want to now put this on the bottom, which may require you to swap places. As you can see, it's not going to completely turn around and go back where it was. It is going to require you to move positions a little bit. Now, obviously, because I had scaled them to kind of make it more of this shape, it's totally off. So again, you're just going to want to play with it to kind of create that point. So let me actually go ahead and play with this just to kind of make it look a little bit better. So hopefully it's easier to follow. And there's no right way of doing it. It's completely up to you. But yeah, this is definitely what I did. Okay, sorry about that. So that's definitely more of the shape that I had. I kind of made a mistake though, and you can fix it with FreeCam if you have access to that. If not, how I would prevent this from happening is I would, instead of putting the basic shape on the ground, I would, once I place the basic shape, I would move it up into the air right away and then place the pyramid pieces on top. So that way you can reach underneath and grab the cube. So back to what we're doing, go ahead and rotate them down. They are going to have to switch positions a little bit. There we go. And this way we can now place the next part of the sphere, which is the smaller part. So I'll go ahead and scale that down a little bit. We can now place that on here. So once again, just copy and pasting these corner wedges, putting it on this basic shape. Kind of just a repeat of the same thing, which is kind of nice. I mean, it can get a little tedious, but it's not a bunch of complicated new steps. Okay, there we go. And then obviously to remove this gap, you're just gonna have to move them down a little bit. Does not have to be perfect. Or you can try to make it perfect and count exactly how much you go down. So for example, it's at negative 0.21. So I'll move this down to negative 0.21. There we go. But that is how you make the head of the spear. And then I just colored it dark gray. Now obviously I think this is a little bit pointier. I think this is actually supposed to go down a little bit more. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can customize it however you want. And then I believe I didn't actually put this in the tree yet, so I'm gonna bring this back down. And then you're gonna want to go into the spear and you're gonna want to find the little cube, and there we go. Go ahead and grab that. Place it on the top of this wooden pole, and then once again go inside with the transform tool. Find your basic shape, which is right there. And then we're gonna want to turn this around. There we go. We now have the tip of the spear. Then just go ahead and put it on the tree, and we'll go ahead and rotate this around. And then of course just move it into place. There we go. And then now we have to make this part here. So then I went ahead and grabbed an inverted wedge, and actually let's do this up here so we can kind of see height. Go ahead and flatten it all the way. And then you can use the transform tool to kind of see how tall we need to make this. You can also mess with how skinny this part is here. Anything will work, but I think something like that is probably pretty good. So that we have that, we'll go ahead and put a cube on top of that. Actually, before we do that, go ahead and copy and paste that piece, that wedge, because we're gonna need it for later. Then go ahead and make the cube flush with that. And I think we're gonna need it a little bit taller, and then we're gonna go and put this on top. And then on large grid, go ahead and turn this around, and there we go. You can color it red like I did, or whatever color you want. And then just with the transform tool, go ahead and move it into place. Obviously, you can make it taller if you want. I think my stick is probably longer. I think that's why. But obviously, you can play around with it. I ended up with this. You may end up with something different, and that's totally fine. Makes it more unique and more your own anyways, which is nice. We are almost through all the build hacks. We just have a couple more. In case you don't want these round heart trees, which I assume most of you would, but I did make these flat green heart trees that you'd kind of think of if you think of heart trees. Some games have them, like I know Theme Park Tycoon 2 has these heart trees, I believe. So I just took the same base we already made from those trees over there. And then to make the heart, it's very simple. We're just gonna go ahead and take 2 wedges for the bottom point of the heart. And as you can see, I have different sizes. So you can make this as big as you want. You can make it as wide as you want, as skinny as you want. You can make it as deep as you want. It's all up to you. I think I left it at the default deepness for these. We'll go and play around with that until you get a shape that you like. And then the next part, you're gonna go ahead and grab the convex straight. And you can just put them straight on top of our wedges. May need to adjust a little bit with the transform tool. And then go ahead and just take another one. For this tree right here, I actually scaled it down a little bit on the medium grid. And then just place them on both sides, and there you go. Just gotta move this down now. Color it whatever color you want. And there we go. I made mine a little bit taller, but as you can see, you have your flat heart trees. You can do that the same thing over here. Again, just mess with the sizing. That's literally all I did. And then now on to the very last build hack, which is definitely one of my favorites. We have this really cool like garden heart-shaped frame that actually fits perfectly around the illuminated heart archway. As you can see, it can be totally separate, it can be completely its own thing, or you can put the heart in it. I made sure it's the perfect size for that. This build hack is a little bit more complicated though, but it's basically the same steps just repeated. First thing you're going to want to do if you want to make it so that the heart archway can fit inside, you're going to want to grab the illuminated heart archway, and then we're going to need a cube scaled all the way down. And then go ahead and grab a pilea plant. I recommend choosing whatever color you want first. It'll just make it easier so you don't have to go back and change it later. I personally use the salmon color because I think it looks really nice for Valentine's Day. So go ahead and color the pilea plant and your basic shape the same color. And then here's what we're going to want to do. On the small grid placement, you're going to want to put this pretty close, but not in the illuminated heart archway. And then you're going to want to take another one, and you're just going to want to move it a little bit. It does not matter the amount you move it. That's completely up to you. The basic shapes here are much closer together, and these ones here are further apart. You can't really tell. I mean, now that I told you, you can kind of see that, but as you can see, it doesn't really make a big difference. And you can always redo it later. It's not too hard. I actually redid this because I didn't like it the first time. But just keep placing these basic shapes just like this all the way up the heart. Pretty close together like that is good. And you're just gonna keep doing this around the shape of the heart, so you're kind of making a heart-shaped archway here. Does not need to be perfect either. Mine is definitely not perfect, and I'd say it looks pretty good. And the ones at the top definitely do not need to be as closer together either. And last one down in the center. There we go. And now we have our basic shapes. And make sure each time you do it, you place the basic shape on top of another basic shape, because that will allow us to copy and paste the whole thing and put it on the other side. So just rotate that around, and then make sure you're just putting it back in the same spot, which is about there. And then as you can see, we have these basic shapes that outline the heart both ways and kind of make a heart archway. So then now what you're going to do is you're going to take your pilea plant, and you're gonna scale it all the way down. And then it's a little bit easier if you remove the illuminated heart archway and then take the pilea plants. And then I think medium grid is the easiest to place these on the basic shapes, but you can use whatever grid size you want, and then just keep placing a pilea plant on every single basic shape. And again, unfortunately, plants are not copy and pastable, so we have to do this on both sides. But it's pretty simple, takes a minute or two, not too bad. There we go, and now that we have all our pilea plants, what we want to do is we want to be on medium grid, and we want to scale it up just one bit to 2.2. So if you're on medium grid and you just drag the arrow up one, that'll be the size that we want it. And you're gonna scale every single pilea plant up to that size. And make sure to do it on both sides. And there we go, as you can see, we have a heart archway. It already looks amazing. And then if you go and take the illuminated heart, and you can put it directly in the middle, but I think it actually looks best if it's back a little bit like that. And there you go, as you can see, these are also closer together and these are slightly further apart, but you can't really notice a big difference. So that's great, you could stop there if you wanted. That looks amazing. Or, as you can see over here, on one side, I put these little berries, kind of like we did for this tree here, kind of like the heart apples or heart fruits or whatever. You can do the exact same thing. And this part, you can actually do copy and pastable, just like we did with the vines. As you can see, I have a basic shape that if I pick up, I can now copy, and I can just go ahead and move it into place. So in case you were making a new archway, you can now copy and paste all the fruits onto it. So of course, to do that, you're gonna need a basic shape, and you're also gonna have to find a place to hide it, just like we did with the vines. So for example, what I did over here is I just colored it the same color as the heart frame, and I kind of hid it in the heart frame. You're welcome to do that. You can also kind of hide it over here by the plants. In fact, that actually looks pretty hidden, so you can totally go ahead and do that. And then you're gonna go ahead and grab a heart pillow scaled all the way down. You're gonna want to put it on the basic shape, which is why you want it to be easily accessible. As you can see in this place, it is a little tricky to get to, but I can still grab it. There we go. And then just take each heart and transform it a little bit, rotate it in a little slightly different direction. And obviously, you just keep doing this all around until you're done. Well, anyways, that was all of the Valentine's Day garden build hacks, most of which were copy and pastable, which I think was pretty cool. As always, if you enjoyed, thumbs up the video, consider subscribing, and have a happy Valentine's Day.